to my campfire. I hope you're nice and warm and toasty. Since we are sitting around a campfire together, it is only appropriate that we hear a campfire story or two. So, let me jump into the first one. How the raccoon got his coat, as told by Native Americans. Many years ago, raccoon looked different than he does today. He used to be all silver, smooth from nose to the tip of his tail. This is the story of how all that changed. Raccoon was heading home after a night of hunting when he passed by Raven's home in the forest. Raccoon noticed that Raven was just inside the house, and as he passed, he caught a glimpse of 5 beautiful silver rings. Rings that Raven had stolen and stashed away for safekeeping. Raccoon instantly wanted the rings and was determined to get them. Later that night, after it grew dark, Raccoon put his plan into motion. He put on a mask, tied his face, and lit a torch to carry under his chin. You can imagine how scary he looked. He snuck quietly up to Raven's home and started to make eerie sounds at the windows. Ooh, 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 he cried. Raccoon thought that Raven would be scared and run away, but instead, Raven ran straight out to meet the intruder. Raccoon had to change his plan, and so he led Raven into the woods with his spooky sounds, then creeped back into the house while Raven was searching the woods. Raccoon opened Raven's trunk and found the 5 rings, even more beautiful than he had thought. He was ready to run off with them when he realized he couldn't carry all 5 rings and the torch. Suddenly, he caught a glimpse of his tail, and an idea came together. He slid all 5 rings onto his tail and made off into the night. The next day, Raven realized his trunk had been moved. When he opened it, he knew that he had been tricked, that one of the forest animals had taken his beautiful rings. Raven went to each of them: bear, owl, eagle, chipmunk, but none seemed to know anything about the missing rings. Finally, Raven visited Raccoon. "Hello, Raccoon," said Raven. Raccoon met him gruffly. "I was sleeping, Raven," he said. "What do you want?" "Someone has taken 5 silver rings from me," Raven said. "Do you know anything about that?" "No, I don't. May I go back to sleep now?" Raccoon retorted. "Are you sure?" Raven asked. "I'm certain, and I'm tired. Why don't you leave me be?" Raccoon said. Raven apologized and thanked Raccoon, but when Raccoon turned to go back to bed, Raven saw 5 dark rings of tarnish on his tail. "Ah!" Raven said, "it was you." Raccoon apologized and admitted what he had done, but Raven didn't think that was enough. "From now on," Raven said, "you will bear the marks of what you have done. Your face will show the mask with which you hid yourself. Your hands will be blackened by the soot from your torch, and your tail will always be tarnished by what you stole." And so it was. Raccoon never stole from Raven again, but he's never really stopped his thieving ways. He still comes to us in the night, looking for things he can take, wearing his bandit's mask. This next next tale is an Aesop fable. The Ant and the Grasshopper. One warm, sunny day, a grasshopper was bounding through the fields. He was happy and sang a song as he jumped. As he got tired, he decided to lay down in a warm rock in the sunshine and watch the clouds. Just then, an ant passed by, working very hard to carry an ear of corn to his nest. The grasshopper was so enjoying his day that he called out to the ant, "Hey, why are you working so hard? It's a beautiful day. Come enjoy the sunshine with me." The ant called back, "We need to store food for the winter. In not so many days it will be cold and we will be hungry." The grasshopper thought this was silly. "Why, there's plenty of food," he cried. He went back to lazing in the sunshine. The ant shook his head and went back to work. The next day it was again sunny, and the grasshopper decided to visit the riverside. He bounded from leap to leap over the crisp, cool water, not a care in the world. Once again, he saw the ant pass by. This time, the ant was carrying a large leaf. The grasshopper called out again, "Hello, friend. Why are you working so hard again today? Come sit in the shade and enjoy the sound of the river." Once again, the ant refused. "These pretty days are not so many, grasshopper. Soon the cold will come. We must be ready." The ant returned to his work. On the third day, when the grasshopper awoke, the sun was not shining. It was not warm. Winter had come overnight, and the ground was frozen and covered with snow. The grasshopper shivered, and as he looked for food to eat, he found nothing. He walked for hours through the snow, searching for food and shelter. As he walked, he passed the ant's nest. Inside, he saw ants warm and happy and sharing a delicious-looking meal. It was then that he understood that the ant was right all along. Not all days are sunny. The ant turned then and saw the grasshopper freezing and hungry. He felt pity for the poor grasshopper. "Come, friend," he called. "There is room here, and there is food. I've saved enough for many seasons. Come in and eat." And so the grasshopper was welcomed into the ant's home, and the ant's preparations kept the ant, his family, and the grasshopper warm and fed the whole winter long. We've got just one more story I think we should tell. This one is a bit spooky. It is called Giant Red Mouth. Timmy was out for a walk one day when he got lost. He started to backtrack to try to find his way home when suddenly it began to rain. The rain came pouring down buckets of water, and Timmy was quickly getting soaked. He started to run, still not quite knowing where to go. He came across a house that was clearly deserted. All the windows were empty. No lights were on. He ran up to the house to see if he could get shelter from the cold, driving rain. There was no one near the house or shelter him from the rain. No eaves, no porch roof. The only way to stay dry would be to get inside, and as he could tell no one lived there, he didn't think anyone would mind much. He tried the door, and it was locked. Timmy was happy to be inside. He sat near a window, trying voice behind him. Do you know what I do with my giant red mouth and my long purple fingers? Timmy whipped around and saw a huge, awful monster with horns on top of its head, purple fur, beady little eyes, long fingers, and crooked fingernails, and a giant red mouth filled with pointy teeth. Terrified, Timmy turned to run down the hallway. The monster ran after him, his giant feet crashing along the floor behind him. Timmy made it to a doorway, ran through, and shut the door behind him. From the other side of the door, Timmy heard the monster getting louder. Do you know what I do with my giant red mouth and my long purple fingers? The monster was too close, so Timmy ran out the other side of the room and into a bathroom. He shut the door behind him just as the monster caught up with him. The monster was even louder now. Do you know what I do with my giant red mouth and my long purple fingers? Timmy had no place to hide except the bathroom closet. He crawled inside and closed the door behind him as the monster burst into the bathroom. The monster was just outside the door, and Timmy had nowhere else to run. He made himself as small as he possibly could and held his breath. For a moment it was quiet, and then the monster tore the closet door open. Timmy was trapped. The monster's breath was on his face as it asked again,